Thank you, Presiding Officer. First of all, I want to thank the Education, Children and Young People Committee for undertaking this work and producing this hugely important report. This report is something I very much support. It was timely for me as a local MSP due to the increasing number of constituents who have raised issues facing children with additional support needs. Initially, some of the initial issues that were raised with me were regarding Inverclyde Council's Play for All scheme, which aims to provide affordable childcare during the summer holidays for children with ASN. But quickly, many more issues came to the fore. Due to the demand, several children were not granted a place, leaving families without any viable childcare option over the summer period and leading to some parents having to take unpaid leave to be at home with their child. Now, for those whose child was granted a place on a scheme, many told me that they were offered 4 hours of childcare for a whole 6-week holiday period. Now, understandably, this was entirely unworkable for most families, as they said that the disruption to their child's routine for those 4 hours wasn't worth sending them. And one other point that came throughout the discussions was the length of time that when the children went back to school after the summer holiday break, that extended period of time it would take for the children to then settle back into the schooling situation. So the 4 hours certainly was nowhere near enough to assist with that aspect either. Presiding Officer, I raised these concerns with Inverclyde Council, and they themselves recognised that the improvements needed to be made to the Play for All scheme. Now, sadly though, as the committee report highlights, and as colleagues from across the chamber have already indicated, there are broader systematic challenges that children and young people with ASN face. I've shared this report with the recently established group called the ASN Parent and Carer Support Group Inverclyde. Now, after seeing the group advertise activities for families in Inverclyde with ASN children, I reached out to them as I was pleased to see that this offering being made given the challenges with the Play for All situation locally. That upon meeting several of the parents who had been attending the group sessions, it was clear to me that there remains a huge gap in ASN childcare provision within Inverclyde. Families noted that various local facilities do offer ASN-friendly services such as the Waterfront Cinema and several of the soft play centres, and they were happy to pay for this. However, the issue remained and the issue that they came to me with initially, that the issue was that the summer holiday childcare options available to children with ASN are not on a par with the package offered to neurotypical children, as funded play schemes for neurotypical children were offering days and weeks' worth of childcare. One of the big frustrations around this as well was the fact that there's a school in Port Glasgow which is considered to be one of the best schools for children with ASN, but over the summer period is closed. And here was a resource that actually could be utilised to actually help children. So I organised a round-table meeting involving members of the ASN Parent and Carer Support Inverclyde Group and local councils to discuss the myriad of issues from childcare to schooling that impacts children with ASN. And Section 29 of this report states, and others have touched upon kind of the word fight, but I think the whole section is really important in this aspect, and that's that many responses to the call for views contain details of negative personal experiences, including parents and carers having to fight to get support for their child, and some disturbing accounts of the impact on children and young people with ASN's health and mental well-being. Now, sadly, this very much reflects the feelings and experiences of the families that I have spoken to and met in Inverclyde. In fact, so many of the experiences faced by local families reflect that of families across Scotland. Now, the Morgan Review has already been touched upon. It was published in 2020, which considered the post-legislative landscape for additional support to learning. And the convener very much spoke about this in her opening comments. And I agree with Angela Morgan's position that our recommendations were not a quick fix, and that cultural change to deliver improvements to ASL implementation and to ensure meaningful change for children and young people will take time. We've already seen that cultural change can happen when we consider the issue of stigma around mental health. Over the course of the last 15 years, society has changed greatly in this regard, and I welcome the fact society has changed in that, because it does mean that more people are coming forward seeking the help and assistance that they need. In the situation that we're discussing today, that is very much an issue that will take a bit of time, but we have to attempt to lead with regards to policies, but also leadership in that regard. So I am pleased that the Scottish Government will update the additional support for learning action plan, reflecting the relevant recommendations of the committee's report, and the Cabinet Secretary spoke about the third update later on this year. And it's something I will certainly look forward to reading. As I begin to conclude, Presiding Officer, I think it's worth noting that there have been some improvements have taken place. First of all, there are 17,330 pupil support staff in Scotland. That's the highest level on record and an increase of more than 2,000 since 2020. There's also the work with regards to the Map Without ASL policy stretches across the education, health and social care sectors to ensure that we can work across boundaries to deliver better support. But there is still so much more to do. One final point, Presiding Officer. I do want once again to thank the committee for producing this important report and for keeping ASN on the agenda to help many households and children who need the support. Crucially, parents only want to have the best life chances for their children. Parents of ASN children are absolutely no different in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.